You guys seen this? I'm sure you've seen this. Everyone's seen this. How could you not have seen this?
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely...
So notice, this is a billionaire, property developer and CEO Tim Gurner, an Australian. He's talking about actively hurting the economy in order to put workers in their place. This is actually the same guy who wrote that infamous avocado toast article all those years ago. He's the same guy. It speaks to a very particular brand of psychopathy, I think, when you are a billionaire and you are still feeling the need to write articles like that, like personally, as though you don't have anything better to do. Let me see if I can find the original article. Tim Gurner, 35-year-old developer, called out his generation on Australia's version of 60 Minutes. When I was trying to buy my first home, I wasn't buying smashed avocados for $19 and 4 coffees at 4 each. It was only $500 million here. He is class conscious. Yes, he is. He's extremely class conscious. And as is the case with many like super wealthy people, it's not just a detached economic incentive. It's not just a detached interest in sort of maintaining his own class status. He actually hates poor people. He despises you and he wants you to suffer. That's why I say demons so often. It goes beyond, because much in the same way that the class interest of a member of the proletariat sort of necessarily inclines you towards bitterness towards people who have taken everything from you and given nothing back, and I think that's perfectly fair and sensible. But likewise, being a billionaire sort of puts you in line with social norms that incline you towards demonic behavior.
Laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
Tim Gurner also inherited money from his grandfather to become a gym, or to buy a gym. Almost every person who says stuff like this about poor people has been given money at some point. Not entirely. There are people who, through extraordinary circumstance or luck or whatever else, are able to rise their way to the top just with hard work or whatever. But people who make statements like this are usually so detached from poverty and from sort of tedium of low-class work that they will act contemptuously in this way. It's the same reason that the people who are often most arrogant are the ones with the least right to be. It's a way of compensating for insecurity.
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much.
Is this the same clip?
To get that.
Or does he just sound the same?
We have people decided they didn't really want...
It's the way he talks is so uninflected.
I think the problem...
Yeah, it is the same clip. I wonder why Ken posted the same one twice. The same clip in every video. Okay, I see. For the quote tweets, I see. I think that, if anything, this is an indication of the fact that things are turning in our direction right now, with the rise of unions in the United States, the fact that the NLRB decisions, along with the Department of Labor, Biden's advocacy changes, SAG-AFTRA strikes, even the VFX stuff with the Marble, we see all these public examples. The rail strike, even though it was shut down by Biden, got concessions that they were looking for. What happened with UPS recently? Now every single UPS driver is actually a multimillionaire. There's so much good stuff on the table. I think that necessarily, as they have in times past, the billionaire class or the oligarchs or whatever time period it is, the same basic premise, are going to react negatively to this. Now, we do have something good going for us, okay? Every once in a while, we're given a gift. The bourgeoisie may have immense power and influence relative to the proletariat, but there is something they occasionally lack. And this combined in tandem with the fact that they're often in front of cameras and television screens and such can play to their detriment, as they lack subtlety. This has already been viewed nearly 18 million times. This guy is an actual demon, and everyone knows it. When he wrote that avocado toast article like 6 years ago, it immediately became the centerpiece of mocking derision towards people who are so out of touch with reality that they would unironically argue that the thing keeping millennials from saving up for a house is because of the $18. It's just avocado toast. How much could it possibly cost? $18? It immediately became like a centerpiece for derision. And likewise, he is so obviously evil. His economic prescriptions are so clearly based in resentment and bitterness and hatred that he is again serving as a detriment to his own class. Now, keep in mind, a ton of wealthy people think the way this guy does. Okay? That is not unique. He is not the only. It's like how a ton of cops are racist and a ton of cops are really contemptuous towards ordinary people, but it's usually only the really stupid and unsubtle cops who actually say it, and give the game away and make things a lot harder for their contemporaries to get away with being subtly evil and subtly racist. In a way like that, I would say Tim Gurner is actually a gift to the working class, Really, I do. Now, of course, nobody who actually defends capitalism as a sort of laissez-faire economic, detached, in a way, in an Adam Smith sense, nobody should be defending this guy, because what he's advocating for is actually an artificial and reactive blow to the economy, something that would be damaging purely as a way of putting workers in their place. Meanwhile, corporations are seeing record profits, and the recent upswing in labor rights and unionization has been a counter to that. It's austerity not to tighten the belts, but simply to punish the poor. It's very clearly done as a way of punishing the uppity poors. I mean, he says it right here, doesn't he? Hold on. Let me see if we can break it down really, really. Hold on.
Definitely decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity.
So people didn't decide they didn't want to work so much anymore through COVID. They were let go of. A lot of people lost their jobs during COVID. And when COVID, when the lockdowns ended, when jobs started to open back up as they used to, it turns out people actually didn't want to work for like $7.25 an hour when they were just getting some provisions from the government. Like this is what I think a person who actually believed in market forces would argue. This is a writing towards equilibrium. Corporate profits are skyrocketing. So you would think logically that based on a pretty clear understanding of supply-demand incentives, okay, so what should the workers do to leverage their economic interest? Well, they should probably be paid more if corporations are making record profits. And again, the period of time during which COVID was at its most socially influential was a period of time during which the lower classes lost a ton of money and the upper classes gained a bunch of money. So you would think then, okay, well, supply demand, if workers are so necessary then maybe they should be paid more for the benefit of their labor.
Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the
I don't know what he means by tradies. This is some degenerate Australian slang.
last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50%, in my view. We need to see pain in the economy.
We need to see pain in the economy. Does anyone genuinely think that this is actually he's just advocating for sensible economic shifts? No, it's clearly just the workers are getting uppity, they must suffer. Tradies are like builders, plumbers. Oh, he mean trade skills, okay, gotcha. Nobody who is just offering a detached economic assessment of the current state of affairs would argue that we need to see pain in the economy. And nobody who believes in the supply-demand graph, who believes that the economy should be oriented with respect to the, a fair, sensible assessment of the labor value of a worker, would argue that in a time of record corporate profits, we should not be doing something to raise workers' wages.
We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around.
Again, I ask people, can somebody explain to me how this is economically justifiable? Because this literally just sounds like a slave master who is explaining to his subordinates what they should do to keep the slaves in line. The language is exactly the same. It has nothing to do with like, oh, well, we need to be more productive. It's like, yeah, no, we need to see pain out there. We need them to know they work for me. The language here has nothing to do with economic efficiency. It's just entitlement. It doesn't even make sense. The businesses will also go under. Yeah, he doesn't give a shit about how good businesses do. The wealthy get wealthier on average, whether or not the economy is doing well. When the economy did poorly in 2008 during the COVID crisis, the wealthy invariably just consolidated their wealth and made more money. The economy, like, there is no relationship functionally. You guys, when there is an economic downturn, you are the ones who suffer. Oh, did I say 2008 COVID? 2008 housing crisis, comma, COVID. Thank you. When there is an economic downturn, you guys are the ones who suffer. Regular people have to tighten their belts. Regular people lose their jobs. Regular people are the ones who suffer. When the economy sees a downturn, the wealthy don't. Like what? Oh, so their assets take a dip sometimes? Usually, at most, the wealth just consolidates. But otherwise, it trickles up. I mean, what about that? Hold on. That 5 trillion gained in wealth? So somehow, during the pandemic, which this guy describes as a time of lowered productivity and workers being entitled, the ultra-wealthy, the billionaires, that includes him, he is a billionaire, added 5 trillion to their fortunes, and that 5 trillion didn't come from nowhere. A comparable amount of money was lost by the working class. Like Elon Musk made an ungodly amount of money during COVID. I just don't want people to argue senselessly that anything that he's saying is some kind of hard truth. Like anything he's saying here is like well, maybe he comes across as callous, but yeah, somebody's got to do it. Because this is exactly the bullshit mentality that like Reaganites and Thatcherites used to describe economic policies that just like the working class. No good was done, not for the nation, not for the overwhelming majority of people in the country. And always it's framed as like this, maybe it doesn't sound nice and nobody wants to be the one to do it, but yeah, we have to have politicians who constantly enrich the richest people all the time through policies that don't have to happen, but they choose to make happen. And they're also friends with the people who are enriched by it. Non-stop. It's the same with this.
I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a
Sorry, poor people. We can't have you feeling like your labor is too valuable to the person who pays you your paychecks, okay? You need to be constantly grateful and desperate for the work that you get. We need high unemployment rates so you could be fired at any time because there are always people who are unemployed who are willing to take your job the moment you get let go. You can't feel as though your work is necessary because you're an interchangeable cog in the machine.
Dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy.
Hurting the economy. I like how overt it is, too. Like, he can't even maintain the illusion that what he's saying is some kind of, like, principled austerity. Or, like, we have just no choice whatsoever but to do this, This is why I say that he's an asset to the working class. Because this guy twice now has given the game away. He's a sociopath, He doesn't give a shit about anything except for hurting the working class. Not to bring this back and make it a little bit more soy, but I will say that when people, for those of you who have actually read the book 1984 and not just like cited it in pop culture, this is what Orwell was getting at. When Orwell writes about how O'Brien and members of the inner party are working to build a society in which everyone, including them, is worse off, but they're better off than the members of the outer party and the proles, relatively speaking, and that's what they're going for. This is what they're referring to. When you get wealthy enough and when you get powerful enough, you already have everything in the world. There's nothing in the world this guy can't have. He can have literally anything that he wants. But clearly he's still empty inside. He's not happy. He's not able to form stable relationships because to him, all social drive and desires have been supplanted by the desire for pure power over others. There is nothing left in this person. That's why I think it's so fair to call him a demon. There's nothing else in him. He just wants power over people. The problem is he already has as much power as you can have. What do you do to have more power than him? Become president? That's difficult. That's tough. And there's only one at a time. That's not like, what else can you do? Maybe he can't enhance his own power that much more, but he can take power away from people beneath him. And that's functionally the same thing. Him becoming more powerful and the people beneath him becoming less powerful, from his perspective, are the same. And so he is willing to build a world in which everyone suffers more, in which the economy is hurt, as long as it hurts other people more than it hurts him. As long as his relative power over you workers is increased, he is sated. Does that make sense? This is what Orwell was talking about, and it's why I think sometimes people criticize O'Brien's motivations. They think it's too cartoon villainy, like, oh, what, he just wants people to suffer for suffering's sake? That happens.
Which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market.
Arrogance. Again, it's all about power. It's all about stepping down on the uppity worker. It's not about productivity at all.
And that has to continue, because that will...
The dude is literally doing the villain speech from Ants. Yeah, he literally is. Yeah. Good movie. Literally this guy. Except, as is so often the case, this, like, avatar of bourgeois oppression is not like a masculine mercenary warrior, but is actually a craven, disgusting, balding loser with the permanently upturned eyebrows. That's A Bug's Life? Is it? Oh, wow, they really do look the same, don't they? Wait, is it really? Is this the bad one? Okay, this must be, because this looks uglier, and A Bug's Life looked better than Ants. Is this the Ants one? That's the same guy? But is it? It's the same guy? Okay, I looked up Ants villain, and I'm getting these... Okay, this is the guy. No, this is from Ants. No? That's A Bug's Life? Ants, villain, evil? What? Oh! This guy? This guy. Oh, okay, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that for my entire life, I have thought Bug's Life is Ants. And I don't know if I remember Ants. I mean, I haven't seen either of them in like 20 years. Wait, what is the plot of Ants? Ants is worker v soldier, and Bug Life is worker v bourgeoisie? Okay, hold on. Ants plot summary. The worker ant Woody Allen strives to reconcile his individuality with the communal work ethic of the ant colony. He falls in love with the ant princess. I don't remember any of this. What I remember is that there were a bunch of bugs that were trying to gather up enough seeds to pay off a grasshopper. Yeah, that's Bug's Life. Huh. Okay, so Bug's Life is the proletarian story. Ants is too? Okay, I think I remember this plot of Bug's Life. I need to rewatch Ants then, I guess. That's just confusing. The antagonist in A Bug's Life is played by Kevin Spacey, coincidentally. Well, he does have an evil voice. I guess that makes sense. This is the high-quality content that I watch Vosh for. Thank you. I'm glad that you, interesting. Okay, so anyway, this guy is evil. Can we agree? Ants is anti-fascist. A Bug's Life is anti-capitalist. What's the difference? People like this are the reason why capital tends to turn towards fascism, When fascists take power or look as though they're taking power as an answer to communists, unionists, and labor organizers. People like this throw money hand over fist at the fascists who kill them. Pinochet, no, that joke is B-movie. Well, the B-movie was terrible. Okay, whatever. Are you guys serious? Are you kidding me right now? It was a terrible movie. I've seen them. It's terrible. It's a meme movie. It's not a good movie. It's not a good movie at all. It's not even like bad good. It's just bad. It's only funny if you have like 10 friends there with you and you're just making fun of it. It's not a good movie. But every movie is good by that standard. I'm not watching clips from Ants. Jesus.